I'm just speaking on the diversity of wood species in a particular ecosystem in Nigeria. And that is the most important ecosystem in Nigeria, and I believe you will agree with me that is the most important ecosystem in the world. That is the tropical rainforest ecosystem because of species abundance and diversity. And because of how good this ecosystem is, you will also agree with me that the amount of pressure on it is increasing daily. That is why we were interested in actually carrying out this study. Let's assess the status of this particular tropical rainforest ecosystem in southwest Nigeria, because the rain system, the tropical rain system ecosystem is concentrated only in southwest Nigeria. Now, let me just give Nigeria happens to be the biggest country in Africa with a population of 150 million. And I wish to also state that about 75% of this population in the rural area, they rely solely on forest for their livelihood. Now, Nigeria has virtually all the ecological zones. In the southern part, very close to the coast, we have the mangrove and the freshwater swamp. Now, immediately after that, we have the rainforest ecosystem, which I have said is just 2% of the total forest area in Nigeria. Then after the rainforest ecosystem, you have the savanna. The savanna is 70% of the land, of the forest, total forest area in Nigeria. Then you have some fringe or riparian forest. But like I've said, over the past years, the world has experienced a lot of changes in environmental and social and all spheres of life. Now, one of such changes is what is actually an interest to the world, and that is forest degradation. These changes have had considerable impact on human activity and natural ecosystem. Today there is a great concern about the impact of deforestation and forest degradation worldwide. Why? Because of climate change, which is a direct consequence of forest degradation and deforestation. Now, as I've said, many processes are going on within the entire forest ecosystems. Species are already migrating, and these are the species that are actually good. They are the tropical outdoor species that are good for our forest products. Now, plant and animals associated with certain geographical regions are moving or they are dying. You see, the habitats are becoming reduced as a result of temperature increase. Food chain has also changed. Why? Because of deforestation, because of degradation. Now, these are other changes that are taking place as a result of degradation and deforestation, especially in the tropical rainforest ecosystem that is supporting the economy of the country, apart from oil. Now, the tropical rainforest has the capacity to regulate atmospheric carbon by storing it in the plant tissues. Now, deforestation in Nigeria is estimated to be 3%, and this is very high, and FAO has actually quoted Nigeria as a country with the highest, one of the countries with the highest deforestation rate. Just 10 countries, Nigeria happens to be one. The only source of wood is the forest as renewable natural resources. No matter how beautiful the wood is, no matter how beautiful its products are, without the forest, they become unavailable. And the beauty, you may not be able to see it. I think you will all agree with me. So it is paramount that this resource base is well managed for continuous production. Now, what should we do to this goose, that is the tropical rainforest ecosystem that is laying the golden eggs, wood and wood products? Should we kill the goose that is laying this golden egg because it's very good? No. It deserves adequate care and sustainable management. Of course, sustainability or sustainable forest management is at a crossroad generally in developing countries. Now, what is the objective of this study? To assess the present status, as I've said, of the tropical rainforest system of southwest Nigeria, where they are available, in terms of tree species diversity and abundance, the volume yield, and other tree growth variables, the structure of the forest, the present physiognomy, then the stored carbon per hectare in the above ground biomass of those forests, and the impact of anthropogenic activities on biodiversity conservation. Now, the Southwest Nigeria has 6 states, but this study was carried out in 4 of the states. The study naturally had 2 sections: biodiversity and ecosystem functions assessment, then estimation of carbon stored in the above ground stem biomass. Now this is map of Southwest Nigeria, and we also have the map of Nigeria with UNICEF. So this is map of Nigeria showing the Southwest where the study was carried out. Now, the tropical rainforest ecosystem of forest, this study was carried out in forest reserves, and forest reserve happens to be one of the institute methods of biodiversity conservation or wood species conservation. And these are the types we have in the country. These are the ownerships. These are the number available. These are the specific location where you have all these in situ conservation methods. But this study concentrates on just 2, with the forest reserves and the street nature reserves. Why have I chosen these 2? The forest reserves, we refer to them in Nigeria as productive forest, and that is where logging and anthropogenic activities are actually allowed, but under control. But in the street nature reserves or the permanent sampling plots, there are no activities allowed. So, in an attempt to study the effect of human interference, human activity on wood species conservation, we have to look at the status of forests that have not been touched, that is virgin forest in quote, and the productive forest where logging activities are allowed. Now, fifth procedure require living selected forest reserves distributed in the 4 states. 11 forest reserves were involved. And the area of these forest reserves varied from 35 square kilometers, between 35 square kilometers and 490 square kilometers, I mean the area of the forest. The forest reserves are bigger, the street nature reserve are smaller, 35 square kilometers. Now I have the list of the forest reserves that was covered in this study, there in the slide. Now this is the method of data collection using of 2 parallel strips of 1 kilometer and locating 25 by 25 plots at an interval of 250 on each of the transepts. This was done in each of the sites. Now, biodiversity assessment, that's wood species assessment and abundance and distribution were determined. Now, these were compared using some biodiversity indices, and species that are rare, threatened species, and those that have gone into extinction were determined. Then, above ground biomass estimation was also carried out in each of the forests, using the density of each forest and its volume. Now, I have here the wood species in each of the 11 reserves, but it is not possible to choose all the species in each of the reserves. So I have decided to select 10 most abundant species, tropical wood species in each of these 11 reserves. So let's just run through them, you can see them. So these are what we have in the first forest reserve. This is the 10 most abundant in the second forest reserves, with all the parameters of each tree, with all the variables for each tree species. This is the third. So these are just the forest reserves, and here I have the summary of what's the status of each of the reserves in terms of wood species diversity. Now, let's just go to the total. The total number of species is 180. Somebody asked me yesterday that, do I know the total number of species we have in Nigeria? I said, as of now, I don't know, because there's no way I can know. But from this study, we will discover, based on the location selected, the 11 forest reserves selected, we have 188 species distributed into 44 families, and we have other information about these reserves in this present slide. Now, I just go to the summary of tree growth variable, which is very important for carbon estimation, and this is exactly what I have. Now, if you look at this slide, I have said that the reserves were divided into 2. Those we call disturbed, where activities are allowed, but I've said it again, under the strict control of the Ministry of Environment, Forestry Department in charge of forestry resources in the country. This is quite different from what is obtainable in India, where the natural forests are totally preserved, and but in Nigeria we allow logging in our natural forest, but under control. But the second one is undisturbed, which we refer to as street nature reserve in Nigeria. Because we have few of them in the southwest, that's why I cannot cover more than this. Now you can see from this slide that the variables in the undisturbed, of course, is expected quite greater than what we have in the disturbed. That shows that human activities are actually affecting the abundance, the diversity of wood species in the reserves. Now, this mean diameter and height distribution of species in the forest reserves according to diameter classes. Now, just using PCA to characterize the diversity of the species. Now, this is the diameter distribution of this species. You will, of course, normally for a mature forest, the diameter distribution is supposed to follow a kind of inverse shape, but this is achieved for most of the reserves. But for those that are being degraded or where logging has just, there's too much logging, it may not actually follow that pattern, which from what we have seen. Now, this is the structure, that is the physiognomy in terms of height distribution of those reserves. Now, this is mean carbon stock in the forest reserves according to diameter classes. You can see the role of bee trees in carbon storage. That is, the size of the tree is actually contributing, and of course, you will agree with me that these big trees are what are being cut by the loggers or by the tree fellers. So the more you remove the big ones, the carbon sequestration is being reduced. Now, in an attempt to be able to quickly estimate carbon in our natural forest, I tried some models to come out with an equation which can be used to estimate carbon. And this is just a kind of equation, the linear and the non-linear. Now, this is a typical forest reserve in Nigeria with fletching going on. Fletchings are what you do in the natural forest. And the people will go with the power chainsaw, cut the tree, convert into planks of this nature right there and then in the forest without actually bringing to the city for conversion. Now, this is a deforested area in a forest reserve. Now, these are logs awaiting evacuation. These are fell log and a stump in one of the forest reserves. Now, these are stumps of illegally felled trees in those forest reserves. Trees with buttress in the forest reserve. And you will agree with me that these trees of this size are disappearing at an alarming rate. The only place where you can get this now are in the street nature reserve. So these are some of the benefits of this forest. Truck, firewood. Now, degradation and now sustainable forest management will lead to nutrient loss, food insecurity, decrease in quality of ecosystem services, and shortage of wood for domestic and industrial uses. So if the forest is not sustainably managed, wood industry, whether carving, whether other ones, there's a great danger, because of course very soon there may be no wood for their use. Now there's a need to assess the actual current extent of all the forest reserves in the study area. Now we also have to analyze the pressure, the effect or the impact of anthropogenic activities on forest soil, and carbon depletion. So I put a lot of suggestions here. Thank you for listening.